Today we want to talk about a really important distinction. And Simone and I never quite know where to put this distinction in the schedule because put it too soon and people don't get it, put it too late, and why didn't you share it earlier? But this distinction is a distinction which really has helped me have life be lighter, more joyful, and get better results. And I think I learned this distinction about 20 odd years ago. So I've had the benefit of 20 years. And I think you'll all look back to the moment when you became clear about this distinction. And a distinction for me is a little bit like just naming something that exists in a way that makes it clear. And I don't know how many words the Eskimos have for snow, but I'm told that the Inuit people have like 400 different words for snow. And by having 400 different words for snow, it enables them to see the different kinds of snow that there are. Because you and I just see snow, and they see 400 different kinds of snow with different words for it. So this is a distinction, which is the distinction between being committed to something and being attached to something. And it's probably something you're aware of, but how aware you are of it and how you practice it and how you see it makes such a big difference. So being committed to something is really great. It's really important. It's really essential. We all know that, like in this market at this time, more than ever. How committed you are is kind of everything. And being all in, giving something 100%, doing your best to make something happen, stopping at nothing till you get a result, super important. Really, without that, you might as well quit. With pretty much whatever you're doing, because being all in and being 100% committed and doing your best is kind of a prerequisite, right? And we may have touched on this before, but like you all know when somebody is all in, right? You know when somebody's there for you 100% of the time. And just remind me, did we do this thing where we looked at how committed are you in different areas of your life? Someone nodding.
Yeah.
Do we do it around like your partner and your best friend?
Yes, Remy, I think you asked the question on how committed people are in their relationship. And we spoke about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But this so being all in is something we all get. And it's essential. But what we're here to talk about today is being attached. And thing is, it's so easy to make things about me. You didn't answer that email because you didn't like me. You don't want to work with me. You don't rate me. Whereas, in fact, all that happened is you didn't answer the email. So when I make something about me, it's really quite heavy for me and quite heavy for you and generally quite heavy. And whether you're pitching an idea and you're attached to it, or whether you're just inviting someone to lunch and you're attached, it creates a heaviness which gets in the way of results. And so coming into the new year with a kind of separation between the project, the job interview, whatever it is you're doing, and yourself is so liberating because it's not about you. It's not about you. Whether you apply for a job and don't get it, whether you pitch a show and are unsuccessful, whether you give a talk and it doesn't land, it's not about you. And when you make it about you, you're actually stopping yourself from growing and you're giving yourself a hard time unnecessarily. And I think like one of the very first things we ever talked about together was the voice of our saboteur, right? The voice in our head that says, oh, you can't do that. That won't work. You tried it before. Why are you even bothering? There's no work out there. That voice that kind of just keeps us safe in the cave. And that voice of the saboteur and being attached to something, which is to say, making it about you, are quite connected. So it feels quite normal to make it about us. And like a lot of people in creative industries just make it about them because, I mean, who else is it about, right? Who else painted that painting? Who else created that sculpture? Who else wrote that proposal? Who else drafted that script? It's all about me because I put myself into it. And of course it's about me. And there's an element which is true because as creative people, we are putting ourselves into our work, and that's important. But there's also a really important point about just not being attached. So you can create a painting in which you put yourself into the painting, but then you have to stand back and have the painting be the painting and allow people to say, oh, I like that and I don't like that, and I really respond to this color and don't respond to that color, and not make that about you, because that becomes incredibly heavy for anyone looking at the painting. So it's also true about ideas. And if you can think about whatever it is that you're discussing, whatever whatever it is you feel attached to right now, as something that sits between you and whoever you're talking to, rather than something that you're holding close to your chest. It really helps just to imagine it floating here between us. So who has something at the moment which you feel quite attached to? You're taking it quite personally. You're making it about you. Could be literally anything. But someone's waving. I need to put my glasses on. Ellie, can see you waving. There may be other people
Hi
waving. We'll come to you.
everyone.
Hi,
Missed you all
Ellie.
so
Um,
much.
what are you attached to right now? What are you making all about you?
Well, I think I'm getting a little bit better at it, but I have basically exciting news. I got a new job, so that's great.
Congratulations. We should be
Thank you,
definitely
thank
celebrating
you.
that. What is
And
it?
actually, it was something that we put when we first did our goals, when we first started, it was something that I wrote on my goals that I didn't think was achievable. But lo and behold, I've done it. And it was confirmed 2 weeks before the end of last year. So technically it was in 2024 as well. So I'm producing my first Netflix doc. Woohoo!
Oh my goodness, that is
Yeah.
big, big news.
Can we
And
put let's put a signal in the chat because that's some big, big grown-up news to start
Yeah.
2025. That's how we love
Amazing.
that.
yeah, and a real
Wonderful.
testimony to like the thing that we're all here to prove, right? Which is that when you say it and believe it and share it and commit to it, it has a chance of happening. Like,
Yes.
what is the chance that you would be doing this if it hadn't been one of your goals, right?
Well,
Pretty much
exactly.
zero, right? It I'm not saying that everything we imagine and communicate to other people happens, but if we don't communicate it and don't say we want it and aren't clear about it, it really doesn't have a chance. So huge congratulations to making a
Thank
dream
you.
come true. Um,
Thank you.
and even so, you're attached to something right
Yeah,
now.
so the attachment thing I think for this is because it's amazing that I've got this job, but now I'm like, fuck, I've got to deliver. And I think because it's something that is there's elements of it that are very me and that I've done before, but it's also, like it's a feature doc. I've never made a feature doc before. It's with a prestigious company that are known for making feature docs, and I am the lead producer on it. So I think that I'm kind of getting attached to like this thing of if it goes well, it's all on me. If it fails, it's all on me type thing. So I'm just feeling that pressure now that I have to deliver, which I know that it isn't because I know it's a team effort always. But I'm kind of just, I guess, I don't know if that's kind of what you meant by the attachment, but that's an attachment
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
now.
So you're making it all about you. You said that, right? You said
Yeah.
it's all about me, whether it succeeds, it's all about me, whether it fails, it's all about me. And here's the thing that you know and that we all know, it isn't. It's not all
Yeah.
about you. It's not all about you. You're part of a team, and you are part of a wider team, which is a community of people in TV, including hundreds of breakthrough leaders who have been in the place that you're in now. And it's up to you to get Ellie the support and the guidance and the advice that she needs to be as good as she can be in this role. But that it's almost the opposite of having it be all about you. It's all about what support and guidance and advice you can get for Ellie. So if you go into this attached, which is it's all about me and I have to make it work, and if it doesn't, I'm a failure, there's no opening for other people, because it's all about you, so you have to get it all right. You have to make it perfect on your own. Whereas the truth is they hired you knowing exactly what you've done before and exactly what you haven't done before. So be open to what you haven't done before. You bring a lot of things to the table, and that's the being committed part, right? You are experienced, you're creative, you're curious, you're talented, and you've done what you've done. but you also haven't done what you haven't done. So who can you get advice from? At every junction, just going, I'm not sure what the best way forward in this situation would be. Can you give me some advice? I
Yeah.
don't know what the right choice here is because I've never had to make this choice. I'd love your guidance. When you ask for people, this is part of another session we did on asking for help, asking for support, asking for guidance. It makes everyone else on the team, your execs, your commissioners, other producers on the team feel needed and wanted and appreciated, and they've been able to contribute. If you're like, I know all this, I've got it, I don't need any help, I don't need any advice, you block out other people and you stop the project being as great as it can be, and you make it all about you for sure, but at the cost of what? Your health, your mental well-being, the team spirit, and actually the final thing, the final product. So there's a real heaviness about making it all about me, right? There's a heaviness for you and a heaviness for other people because there's no real entry point. The moment you say, I'm really clear about this, but I'd love your thoughts on this, there's a lightness, right? And it's literally, we'll come to other people's examples and you'll see how sometimes it's helpful to see other people's examples because when we're stuck in something ourselves, we don't see it so clearly. But when somebody is making it all about them, it's lonely and heavy and you don't get the best results and everything suffers. So don't have that be you in this role, Ellie. Have it be that it's not all about you. You're part of a team. You bring a lot to the team. But what you need more than anything is other people's advice and guidance so that they can support you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But no, I'm not sure we finished entirely with you,
Oh,
Ellie, yet. Yeah.
sorry.
Um, so the question is for you, if you were just committed to the project being as great as it can be,
Mm,
that's all you want. You just want this project to be as great as it can be.
hmm
Because at the end of the day, you still have a credit on it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so you just want this project to be as strong as it can be, but you're not making it all about you. If you imagine it, you're not attached. It's like, this is the project, this is Ellie, whether the project is hugely successful or whether the project tanks, I'm still me, I still believe in myself. So the project is the project, Ellie is Ellie, and I just want to do everything I can as Ellie to make the project as great as it can be. If that was your mindset, how would you approach things differently? What would you do? It wasn't all about you, but it's just about the project, and you as Ellie are bringing your best game to the table. What would you do?
Um, I guess do as much preparation as I can to make myself feel prepared, which I'm doing now in the lead up to the job. So I'm like reading as much as possible, basically. And then I think the things that you've said, not be afraid to ask when I don't know the answers. And just make, I don't know, I guess, I don't know.
Well, I
Just
think
do as
that's a big thing. Just being open to saying, I don't know the answer to this. Will you help me? I'd love your guidance.
yeah,
Out maybe right now at the outset who some great mentors and allies could be on this project. And
yeah,
there's a couple of breakthrough leaders who've been on a similar journey to you. You could reach out to them. There's other people
yeah,
you probably know who've been on that journey. There's probably some execs who who you could just recruit to your team. Would it be okay
yeah,
if I gave you a call as this project progresses, if things come up that I'm unsure about? They'll be like, yeah, of course, we'd love to hear from you.
yeah.
Don't don't feel you have to solve everything on your own.
Hmm.
Feel like you bring a lot to the table, and part of that is your innocence as well as your experience. But it means you don't have the answers to things that other people might have, and you're willing to take them on board and listen. And just
Yeah,
because somebody else comes up with a solution doesn't mean you have to take it either, but you can at least listen to it, right? Someone who's faced similar challenges before might have a way of doing it that wouldn't be available to you, and you can just ask them and listen to them. But
mm, yeah, that's a
it's
good idea. Getting an
yeah,
ally for the specific project as opposed to just generally, which we've done in the past.
yeah, yeah. People who've made projects like this that could be like an unofficial advisor,
Hmm.
right? Do you say, is it a retrospective documentary or is it a
No, it's an
no?
unfolding narrative. Yeah, it's going to be shot over. It's a really exciting project. It's going to be shot over like 4 weeks, traveling across America from West Coast to East Coast. So there's a lot of stuff that I've not done before.
Great,
But yeah,
great. But um, in a way, that's easier because anything that's unfolding and not formulaic, no one's been on that journey before, right? So
exactly.
no one knows what's going to happen. So staying open and curious,
Hmm.
um, and just getting advice from your colleagues
Yeah,
along the way. What do you
yeah,
think? What do just the moment you talk about you, what do you think? You're a little bit freer from being
yeah,
attached and making it. It's not. It's literally not all about all about you.
yeah,
And if imagine if the commissioning editor and the exec producer and the director and everyone was making it all about them, what a nightmare of a show that would be to work on.
yeah, of course. I think it's not that I think it's more just a pressure thing to when you have high expectations and high standards of yourself and you really want to do well, that's when it's that fine line of that and then making it about you. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what I struggle with.
Yeah, I'm sure we all do it at times in different ways, and yet there's a real difference between saying I am committed to giving this my best, doing my utmost, um, bringing to the table whatever it takes. That is all super useful and it's crucial, important, essential.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the part which is like, and if it succeeds, I will be validated, and if it fails, I will be shit. That's the problem part because
Hmm.
it's still at the end of the day, it's still going to be a documentary, which is lots of people have contributed to, lots of people, and if it works out, you'll be, you should rightly be proud of it, but as a thing, not as part of you. You are you. You are
Yeah.
all the things that you are today in 6 months when this airs, if it's a huge success or if it's a failure. And just reminding yourself that you're doing your best, but you're not making the outcomes. And there'll be lots of little outcomes along the way too, right? Contributors who you need to book and locations that need to get nailed down and bits of narrative that you hope to come to the table that will or won't come. And whether that emerges or doesn't emerge in an unfolding series like this is not about you. It's not about you. The evolution of a documentary is its own evolution. You can only be as resourceful and committed as you can be, but the results are not a reflection of you.
Yeah.
They just can't be. It's too exhausting.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for sharing that. And I know that you are soon to start a new role, or have you already started it?
And
No,
also, sorry, before you do that, I can see that also Dean has his hand up. Sorry to jump in, but one maybe
Brilliant. I'll come to Dean in a second.
wonderful.
Yeah. So Ange, you texted me beforehand to say you have a new role that you're starting, and in a way there are some similarities, I think, maybe with
Yeah.
what Ellie just shared. Yeah.
Yeah, it really crosses over. I'm starting on Monday. 42 years old. I've got my first staff job. It's mad. So yeah, I'll be a senior multimedia content producer for the Royal College of Nursing. And I am pretty terrified, to be honest. I'm trying to be calm about it and cool about it. I went in for a meeting this week just to sign cross the T's and dot the I's, and sort of got a bit of a sense of what they're sort of hoping I'll get my teeth into when I start. But I think I think my issue with the job is that it's a blank canvas and they've created the role for me with me in mind. Although I did still have to go and apply for it and everything, go through the whole process. So I feel like I've got it on my own merit. So I do feel good about it. I feel like I deserve the job and they want my skill set. And but like Ellie was saying, there's some things that feel sort of unknown. Like I haven't picked up a camera for 10 years, and I think there will be opportunities to pick up the camera again, which is why I wanted to do it. But also it's sort of a way for me to step up and series produce exec and have autonomy over projects, which I wouldn't have had if I stayed in TV, because I had TV work lined up for 8 months. So it felt like, you know, when I made the decision about whether I take the job or not, it felt like a real hard decision to make because I was okay. But I think it's this level of unknown. I don't really know the culture. I don't really understand what their expectations are of me. And I feel that my chest is tight at the thought of starting the job because I'm worried that I'm going into a very corporate place where they're going to expect this dynamic, cool TV producer to come in and change everything. And, you know, the cause of the Royal College of Nursing is to help nurses. So I feel the burden of that responsibility of making a difference. So yeah, it's a bit scary.
You know, thank you for sharing that. And listen, lots of the things that you shared will resonate. But like the most powerful thing that you said, which we can all learn from, is that tightness in your chest.
Mm.
Where else do you feel it?
I guess
Is it
just
it,
it's just here, and I just feel
just here.
almost like
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
Okay. Okay. So when we feel that tightness in our chest, for many people, sometimes it's like a tightness in our stomach, the pit of our stomach. Sometimes it's a feeling of sickness. Sometimes it's a tension in our shoulders. Sometimes it's heat in our face, in our hands. Sometimes it's coldness. But what we're talking about here is a physical sensation. Okay. When you feel that, and or anyone, that is a clear sign that you're attached. And it's your body's way of telling you you're attached. So we need to look at that, and we need to look at what to do about that, because what was really interesting was when you were sharing the role, right? The words you were saying and how you were saying it were completely in a different place. Like what you were saying is, I'm starting this new role. I am going to be able to step up in my responsibilities. I'm going to be able to prove to myself that I can produce and exec and take on more responsibility. And it's in a whole new space, which I wanted to be. Like all of the news was upbeat, but how you were saying it was like it was a terrible thing. Like if you just listened to the way you said it rather than what you were saying, we'd have all thought you were facing some terrible, terrible thing. I've got a staff job. It's all on me. It's so much expectation. I'm stepping up to the next role. Now, everything about this is potentially exciting and fun and wonderful and light and playful for you and everyone you work with. Potentially, I say, because whether it is that way or whether it isn't is all down to how you view it. So if you go into this making it all about me and I've got to prove myself and I've got to be cool and I've got to transform the whole way that they make things, it's going to be exhausting for you. You won't get the best results, and no one else will have much fun either, because we pick up on energy of leaders. You know, if you're stressed by it and you haven't even started, I'll be stressed coming to work on your project. So it's up to you to have it be that Angie's experienced in TV, probably more experienced than most people who've ever been in this role or would be in this role, right? You've had a lot of experience in TV. Angie's a strong communicator. Angie's bright. Ange brings a lot of learned and lived experience to this role. She will do as best as she can do. And it's up to you to have it be fun and light. And that part is about not having Ange make it all about her. Right? And again, it's about how you are open to people's. So you said, one of the things you said is, I don't know what they expect. I don't know what they want. I don't know the culture. Well, ask them. Just go coming into this, like whoever the stakeholders are in this project, like they probably have names, right? There's probably like a bunch of stakeholders. How many of them are there, would you say?
Well, I think there's just numerous departments. So there's like maybe 6 departments that I've got to try and navigate and bring together a little bit, because they all work quite separate with their video content.
So how about having a meeting with one person from each of those departments all together, like 6 of you, and going, before we embark on this, it would be really great to sit around and just share what our hopes and dreams are for this and what our expectations are for this. And
Yeah.
please know that I'm not a magician, so I'm never going to be able to make everyone's dreams come true. But going into this, it would be really helpful for me to know what each of you hope to get out of this, what each of you expect from this, what each of you would like from this. And then your job in that role is just to, in that meeting, is just to sit down and take notes. Just listen, just take notes. And what you may find is that there are some common themes and some things which everyone wants. And then you can feed back to the group and go, these were the things which I feel are common and which I can commit to delivering. And there were some other nice to have things around the edges which other people wanted, which I will do my best to include, but I can't promise to include. And that way you're taking a problem and turning it into something which will actually benefit the program. So when you're attached and you're making it all about me and I've got to fix their expectations and solve all their problems, you're not in a space where you're actually asking for input. Ask for input, ask for input. And at every time know that Ange is just Ange, right? She's just Ange. She's a human being. She's had the experience she's had. As with Ellie, she hasn't had the experiences she hasn't had, and she will do her best. But not all on her own in a little room. Like you're not Rumpelstiltskin in a room having to spin straw into gold, you know, and you've kind of created the idea that you are. It all is about you, and if you're going to transform it, and you're going to do it single-handedly, and but you don't really know what they want, but you're going to do it anyway. No, stop that.
And I think also it's because as freelancers we start these jobs, you know, 3, 6 weeks, whatever they are. From day one, you need to prove your worth, or I feel I always have to, and every day counts because we're on a tight schedule. So I I think I need to manage my how my workflow, because it's going to be very different. I'm not going to be delivering a 45-minute episode every 3 weeks. It's just a different world. So I've got to figure out how I can manage that, because, you know, sometimes they have a lot of meetings and I'm gonna struggle with that because I'm like, well, that's time and let's just get on and make stuff. So it's just a different world. I guess I really like the idea of starting off with that idea of understanding what people think that this role could be, how it could help them, and how it would make most impact. And yeah.
Get their input. It doesn't mean you have to fulfill all of their hopes and dreams, but knowing what they would like will definitely help you to shape it. And I think the truth is, as a freelancer, what you said, you know, you have to be your own boss as a freelancer because you have so many bosses, right? You work for one boss after another. So there's part of you as a freelancer that has to always, you know, manage your year, manage your diary, manage the balance in your life. And the same is true when you take on a staff role. It doesn't change. You still have to be Ollie, you still have to be Ange's boss. You have to basically treat Ange as a resource and sit above her and go, how can I manage Ange's time in the best way? Is Ange using her skills in the most constructive way? What else can Ange be doing? So you have to be in this new role. You have to be the best boss that Ange ever had, rather than imagining that, and no one else is going to be doing it. Even though you may have a boss and the boss may have a boss, you still have to manage yourself in that space to create a safe space for you where you are playing to your strengths and you're not overworked. And I think it's super important at the outset to set out for yourself and the rest of the team what success looks like. 6 months in, 1 year in, 2 years in. What would they like to see? What would you like to see? And it could well be that what they hope for in this role and what you feel able to deliver are perfectly aligned, in which case you have a plan. Or it could be that they have some unrealistic expectations, which it would be much better to hit on the head now rather than disappoint in 6 months. You know, if they're expecting a level of output that you know is unrealistic, much better to say that on day one than month 6. There's a rule for entrepreneurs, which is always under promise and over deliver. So if you do that, you'll always be a success, right? If you always deliver more than you promised, But at the moment, you feel like there's a huge expectation. You don't know what it is, so you can't even begin to even deliver. So just getting that right from the start will be super helpful. What does success look like to each of them in this role? What do they hope for? You can then take that away, absorb it, and come back to them with a plan. This is what I am committing to do. I will create.
Sorry, Remy. No, it's amazing. I just wanted to say to Ange, make sure you look at the comments. There's some really good comments happening at the moment. Lots of people being in a similar situation. Sovereign is in a similar situation, about to start a job. Yeah, people just offering support and advice. So it should be well worth looking at. Sam's made a really good point that I think we want to get back to after you deal with Jane. But sorry, Remy, I wasn't sure if you was going to wrap up, but I just wanted to let you know that there's some comments happening in the really helpful comments. Lots of people, lots of great advice in terms of how you navigate or how you feel have been in similar situations.
Yeah, it's really just about keeping yourself and the role and the output distinct. You are you. You'll do your best and only your best, but you also need to take care of your mental health and your well-being and your rest and look after yourself as Ange. And the role is the role. And the role has certain demands, and there are people who have expectations of it, and you need to look at that separately. But whether you are successful in the role is not whether you are successful. You are successful already, and you'll be successful again, and you're great at what you do. But you can definitely help yourself to be effective in the role by getting other people to input what success looks like to them, and then feeding back to them what it is you feel you can deliver. But interestingly, you can only do that the moment you separate yourself as a person and as a creative from the role. They're two different things. And the moment they become fused into one, that's when we feel the tightness in our chest. That's when we feel the thing in the pit of our stomach, because we're making it about us, and that feels scary. But it's not about you. The NHS have been around a long time, and if you're there to serve the Royal College of Nurses, to create compelling content, and that's what that's your compass, you'll do as best you can do for that. You'll probably do better than anyone's done before, and you may do better than anyone does in the future, but that's not the point. You'll do the best you can do. And it kind of brings us to another point. So someone here, I think it was Andrea. Andrea, you've got a public speaking engagement coming up, yes?
Yes, I do. And I also have had a breakthrough. I've just forgot to mention, I actually, like Ellie, I think I've hit one of my goals.
Wow.
Yeah, just before Christmas, I got the role of senior producer on Celebrity Big Brother. So I wanted to step up, which I am, and I wanted to break into big entertainment formats, which I'm doing, especially celebrity, which I love.
Huge
So
congratulations.
that's something I forgot to mention it, and I just shared it with Ellie.
Well,
and she
isn't
said,
that
"Mention
funny?
it."
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
what a thing to forget to mention. I mean, I forgot to mention.
I did speak to Jason actually before Christmas. We had a chat about it, didn't we, Jason? It was a really lovely chat, actually.
It's so powerful to share these things, because when
Yeah,
you have something that you want to have happen and you make it happen, it gives
yeah,
us all hope that we can do the same. And there's nothing more powerful than having one of your goals achieved, right? Because if
yeah.
you, it might have, I don't know how big a dream that felt to you, how far away that felt, how unattainable a goal it felt, or how within reach it felt when you committed to it. Maybe share with us that, when you put it down as one of my goals this
You know
year
what?
is.
I thought the step up would be really difficult, and it's not quite the step up I'm aiming for, but there's time.
Well,
You know,
can we just stop a
but
sec? Like, you thought
yeah,
that step up would be difficult, and you've made it. And
I've
the step
made
up
it.
was to
Yeah,
series producer on a
series produce
on
on
a
a big entertainment on an entertainment format. It's
with
really
reality.
clear in reality. Yes, I work already in reality, but I wanted to work on a big entertainment format.
Great, and you are.
Shining
So
floor.
so
Yeah.
how come you're already saying it's not quite the
I,
step up you wanted?
I know. See, this is the problem, isn't it? That's what I do, and maybe others do. They're always, I need to learn to not talk things down. that's something I've had to work on for a long time, and I'm getting a lot better. But yeah, no, I'm really pleased. I am extremely pleased, and you know, it was kind of quite. The interview process was quite intense and something I'm not comfortable with, but I managed to you know, work on that and did a good job. And all my references, and it wasn't just one reference, it was about 4, and they were all glowing, so that was great, you know, execs on very big shows. So I'm really pleased. I'm proud of myself, actually. Yeah.
Great. And by the
Yeah.
way, even when we think about our references, we can think about them in a way that's attached, or we can think about them in a way that is not attached. And how I encourage you to think about your references is they were talking about your output. They were talking about what you did for them. They were talking about what you made happen. They were talking about the results. So they weren't talking about Andrea as a person, as a human being, as a creative individual. They were saying, when we worked for her, this worked.
Yeah.
So there's a distance. So just for everyone listening, because it works both ways. You can't be, I'm not saying, oh, be attached to your success, but don't be attached to your failure. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't be attached to any outcomes. Outcomes are just outcomes. You can do your best to achieve them. And when you get them, you should celebrate them because it was a goal and you achieved it. But it doesn't or shouldn't affect how we view ourselves, because that's where it gets heavy. That's where we start feeling tension in our body. So, okay. Huge congratulations on
Thanks, Remy.
attaining a goal.
Cheers.
And even so, there's something facing you right now where you're feeling a little bit stuck. Talk to us about
Yeah,
it.
I hate public speaking, and when I tell people that, they're kind of like, they're really surprised because I'm quite confident talking to people. But it's when I'm talking to people that I don't know that I'm really uncomfortable.
Would you be willing just to reframe that? Because even saying that makes it true. Like you say
Yeah.
that, you say, I'm uncomfortable talking to groups of people. I don't like public speaking. That makes it true for you. It makes
Yeah.
it true for all of us. We're all thinking, oh, she hates public speaking. She's terrible at public speaking. She seems very natural in front of us. We're a group of people, but another group of people, she might be different. So instead of saying I am, maybe you'd be willing to say, up until now, I have been. Up until now, I haven't enjoyed public speaking. Up until now, I haven't felt I connected with groups of people. Just have it be that that's how it was up until now.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it doesn't need to be that way now. It up until now, it's been that way. Okay, I get that, and I don't challenge that, but it doesn't need to be that way. It's not like you have the fear of public speaking gene that you inherited from your mother and you just carry it, and every time you see a group of people, no, you have been uncomfortable in groups of people talking up until now. Got that. And
Right.
what do you have? Why is that an issue now?
I've this makes me laugh. I've actually been asked by my daughter's school to present a 30-minute presentation and chat about how I got into TV to the sixth form media students. So everybody keeps saying, well, why are you nervous? They're going to be nervous about meeting you, right? But I guess it's because up until now, I haven't had any, you know, experience in public speak. I've never really had to stand up and talk, or I've chosen not to. I've chosen to sort of back out if I had to.
Great.
So it's not the talking in a group of people who I know at work. That's fine. But although sometimes I've noticed I have shied away as well from that, it's that talking to people who I don't know. And again, being attached, I suppose it's all about me. Like, what are they going to think of me? And also not valuing myself enough and what I know. I think it's that it's not valuing my expertise enough, really.
Yeah.
Believing myself, I suppose.
Just remind us of what the talk is.
It's for Women's International Day. So it's really about me as a female producer in TV. They also know a little bit about my background. And and you know, and that the odds were really against me in making it in TV. I guess they're kind of very interested in that side of my story as well.
Okay.
And I think I will actually reach out to a few people, because one of the sorry, I was just going to actually find it and make it easier. But I think they also want to talk about my role as a female TV producer.
Okay. Okay.
It's sorry, I did
I
have it all kind of ready.
I get it. And this is going to be super useful for all of us, because here's the thing. It seems like
Oh yeah.
you're there to talk about Andrea. So of course it's about you on one level, right? On one level, you're there to talk about your career and your trajectory and your journey. So there's a sense in which, of course, it's understandable that you might go in feeling attached, because what you're there to share is your story, your journey.
Yeah.
You're not going to give a lecture on female entrepreneurship. You're going to talk about
Mm.
how I, Andrea, grew up and progressed and got this job and did this, right? So it feels naturally all about you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it's making you feel anxious. Because it's like these, however many 16, 17-year-old kids, a pair of eyes are going to be on me. I don't know how many there are. It doesn't even really matter, right? How many will there be? 20?
About 20,
About
yeah.
20
It's a
pairs.
mixed group. It's a mixed group, but it's for Women's International Day.
20 pairs of eyes are going to be looking at me. So we can understand why you'd be attached and why you'd be making it about you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Andrea. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about what they can take away to make their journey more possible. You're there to be an example of what is possible. So don't feel their eyes staring at you. Just look at their eyes. And here's the thing, Andrea. If their eyes are shining, you're doing fine. If when you're telling your story about where you grew up and what you made possible and how you got your first job, if their eyes are shining, you're doing fine. Now, when we make it all about me, we don't even look at their eyes. We're just like, it's all about me. It's all about me. And you'll be, so put your ego and your personality and your the eye of Andrea aside, and realize you're not doing this for any other reason than for what? For what? You're not doing this to get a new job. You're not doing this to impress anyone. You're doing this why?
I genuinely hope that my story empowers other children, kids, teenagers who have similar backgrounds or concerns, or feel that they can't do it, you know. Or
And if you were to drill down to like who those kids are, like, who are you really doing this for? For kids from diverse working class backgrounds?
diverse working class backgrounds. I mean, look, they're going to be a huge mixture, aren't they? So
great.
There'll be a mixture of.
Okay, so this isn't about Andrea. This is about empowering kids from diverse working class backgrounds to a new possibility.
Yeah.
And when you do it in service of that, when you're thinking about that, you can relax, because you have the lived experience to show them that it is possible. And just as we see in these groups here, like just sharing something that happened because we dreamed it is inspiring. Inspiring. So you're going to be talking to them about the dreams you had when you were their age, the impossibilities that occurred to you when you were their age, and what you made happen one thing at a time, and what you learned and how you did it. And as long as their eyes are shining, you'll be doing a great job, because you'll be in service of helping those kids from diverse working class backgrounds create a new possibility in their minds. And they'll remember that day when that woman, she doesn't even need to have a name, came in and talked to them about how she started off in a place similar to where they're at, and she is now series producing Celebrity Big Brother. And by the way, if that was all you said, if you just came up and said, I'm just here to tell you one thing. I grew up in a similar situation to yours. I am a diverse woman from a working class background. And today, I'm series producing Celebrity Big Brother. Thank you very much. If that's all you said, you'd have done your job. They'd be inspired because you've shown them what's possible. They'll have a million questions, but you don't need a huge, long, detailed speech. You've done your job. You're there to show them by example what's possible. And by doing it, I mean, the other kind of cool thing about this is that if you're able to do that with grace and directness and eye contact, then you're also showing them that you can do it and be confident. And
Yeah.
so in a way, all of your noise around, and all those people looking at me and can I really do it, is actually taking away from the message that you're committed to giving. Because what you're committed to giving them is a message that they can do it and feel like they deserve a place at the table. And if you don't even deserve a place at the table to talk to 20 kids who are studying media, then that's kind of getting in the way of the message that you're trying to share, right? You're sharing the message that you can do it by owning your space, owning your power, having a voice, being the Andrea who actually we all get to see here, who is confident and deserves her place. The moment we take the light that we think is shining on us, that bright spotlight that's shining on us, and we just shine it on whatever it is we're there to do, the other person, the project, the Royal College of Nurses, kids studying media who want to have a career from working class backgrounds, make it about that. Suddenly there's no need to be nervous. It's not about you. You're there for a reason. You're there for a purpose. You're there to lift someone else up and make something else better. Making it about you is such a waste of energy and such a waste of time and gets in the way of the thing that you're trying to achieve.
That's good.
Wonderful stuff. Dean, did you have something that you wanted to say?
I was going to ask about it going both ways, but you sort of covered that. I guess for me, the thing which really stuck out was, the physical sensation that you get when you're really attached, like the thickness in the stomach. And for me, I sort of like start sweating here, which is really embarrassing pitch meetings, but fine. I guess I wondered, like, I don't know. To me, a little bit of it kind of sounds easier said than done. Like, what are the real kind of techniques to sort of create that barrier between, being committed and being attached? And then also, does that, I guess, with the whole going both ways, does that sort of mean that you have to dampen down your response to when things go well?
No. Okay. So to the last point, when things go well, you can celebrate the thing that went well. And when things go badly, you can bemoan the things that went badly. But there's a big difference between celebrating things that went well and having it mean that I'm extraordinary and I'm amazing. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. And some things go, get great ratings and great reviews, and some things don't. And when they don't, it's not because Dean is shit. Now, the voice in your head always will be latching onto that. And in a way, the reverse problem that you put forward is really not a problem that many people actually have, right? That we make the successes so much about ourselves that it goes to our own head. If only that were the case. Mostly the good things just, we saw that just now with Ange, right? I've just been made series producer of Celebrity Big Brother, which is what I dreamed would happen and what I thought was a huge step up and bigger than I thought I could achieve, but it's not really very much. It's not really that good. It should be more. So we tend to downplay the successes because it doesn't really sit with our inherent belief that I'm not good enough. So we're always looking for support in the idea. It's perverse, okay? It's perverse and it's fucked up, but we basically are looking to prove that we're not good enough. So when we don't get something, when something fails, when someone says no, we latch onto that because the saboteur loves that. Oh, you see, oh, you thought you were all that and you didn't get it. But when something actually punches through and we succeed, we don't treat it with the same weight. So actually, it's not the problem that you think it might be. But what I'm talking about is just a real separation between everything that Dean is and everything that Dean achieves. And you can achieve things by giving it your all, putting in the work, putting in the time, being committed. That really helps achieve things, right? And without that, you probably can't achieve much. But making it about you only gets in the way. It only gets in the way of the thing happening that you want to have happen, right? Andrea wants to be in service of diverse working class kids, to show them what's possible for them in TV. That's all she really wants. Her making it about herself will only get in the way of that, because she won't be attuned to what their questions are, what they're alive to. She won't be looking at their eyes to see whether they're sparkling. She'll be all in her story of how am I coming across, and do I seem cool, and do they like me? And the moment you stop making it about you, extraordinary things are possible. And look, I coach commissioning editors, and I ask them this question, and they know every time when somebody comes in and is attached. You just know it. You know it from your personal life, right? If someone invites you to dinner and they're attached, you know it. Someone says, will you spend the weekend with me? And they're attached, you know it. Any request where someone is attached, we know it. When they're making it about them, it's heavy. And we tend to say no. Because we don't want to deal with that. Like we just know it's not going to end well. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be light. I'm probably not going to be able to input that much. It's all about Dean and his idea, and it's all, when the idea sits between us, like this pen, and it's just like, oh, what do we think of this pen? I'm not, do you like the little white stripe there? I'm not sure. We could get rid of that if you don't like it. Or maybe, do you actually even write with felt tips at all? I love felt tips, but some people prefer biros. It's a whole different conversation than if I'm saying to you, I've got this pen, it's amazing, it's got a felt tip, do you want it? When we pitch with attachment, the answer is nearly always no. Whatever it is, like if I'm coming to pitch myself for a role and I'm attached, the answer will probably be no, because attached, as we saw with, who was it just a little bit earlier, with Ange, attached, or with Ellie, attached is like, it's all sorted and here it is, and do you want it or not? It's all about me and it's self-contained and I've got all the answers. Whereas when I'm not attached, it could be any way. You could have this pen, or you could have another pen. You could have it with the white stripe or without the white stripe. You can have it however you want it, because I'm not attached. I'm not attached to this pen. Being committed is always about something bigger. Being attached is usually quite forensic and small and detailed. So with Ange, she is committed to making quality content for the Royal College of Nurses. She is committed to growing her career. That's great. That we can work with. That I can say yes to. With Andrea just now, she is committed to uplifting diverse working class kids in TV. That is powerful. If you're committed as someone pitching, if you're committed to creating an extraordinary format, that's really open. Like if I'm pitching to you and I'm like, I'm committed to making an extraordinary show for you, there's nothing to say no to, right? But if I'm like, do you want this show where 6 celebrities are in a submarine? No. So the moment we become attached, we go straight to no's.
Thanks, Remy.
Yeah.
So just before we move on, because I know that you want to talk about the importance of commitment and how commitment can be transformational. Sam, you had a point which I think sits really well. I think a lot of people will be in agreement.
Does Sam want to say the idea?
Sam, yeah, Sam, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what you said and in this session. And I feel like this is an industry that lends itself so well to confirmation bias. And it feels like the weight that you sat on the tipping point of things. And with the transactional nature of this industry, and I say that from personal experience, other people might not have this, but I kind of feel like for somebody like me who I got into this industry late, was 28 when I went to uni, didn't get until I was 31. So being part of production was hard because I already had 4 kids. So I couldn't go on set, I couldn't do any of that stuff. So I had to build my skills around what I had. And that was I could work in offices, I could work in production. I was great at gathering people together. So those were where my skills lied. So when I walk into a room and I see people who are in production, I already feel as though I'm behind because I don't do their job. And often people will treat me that way too, in terms of, well, you know, you don't really know anything, you've never done the job, so you don't get it, which is fair enough. But then also I find that it's very difficult to build peer relationships based on that. So all of the things I'm telling myself, I get that back. So that's already a confirmation of it. So when you say like you're telling yourself, people will often give you that energy too. So when you're trying to build, when you know that you've got the skills, when you know that you can do it, because all of these things can be taught, we can all learn things, it's really difficult to keep yourself at a level where you're like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I've got this all the time. Based on the fact as well as we're from diverse backgrounds, people already make us work a million times harder to get where we're going. And just last week, I had a conversation with people who were my bosses, who basically said to me, okay, well, you're friends with everybody, so that means that you can't really be over here because your friends over there. And I'm like, how on earth do I get on if I'm not at least trying to leverage my relationships like everybody else? Like, I can't sit in the middle and, you know, like just be friendly with everybody. I need to pick a side in order to keep working. I'm like, what do we do? How do we get on? How do we remove ourselves from this concrete ceiling that we find ourselves in and not sort of like make it about us? How does that work? So this is where I'm at the moment, because I'm on my own leadership journey. How do I build my business? How do I build my career when this confirmation bias that this industry puts us in makes it so hard to move forward, move past, not tell yourself that it's not about you when people make it about you, if that makes sense. Sorry, I know I'm whittering on a bit, but I just kind of think this is a mad industry for us to be in. Yeah, and I feel sometimes we have to give ourselves grace. It's not you, it's most likely them. Okay, they're doing this to us. And how do we as community help each other? Because often being in community is hard. Being honest with people is hard, because if I say to people how I feel, that can be leveraged against me. And that's happened to me so many times where I've been honest and in conversation, oh, well, you've got ADHD. Can you manage? Can you cope? That's not helpful because I've been honest and it's been reflected back to me. So I guess this is where I am at in the minute. I hope it makes sense, but
I
I just
think
Well,
it does, and it's a
Yeah.
lot to
you've
unpack.
raised lots of
Yeah.
interesting points,
Thanks for sharing.
which we don't have time to explore all of. But the one thing that I would like to just pick up on a little bit is that issue of confirmation bias, because it's totally there and we totally get it. But where you do have power, there's so many places we just don't have power, right? Other people's biases, right, for a start. But where we do have power is over the stories we tell ourselves. And what you were saying is it's very difficult to tell myself a story that I am competent, that I am capable, that I am creative, that I am resourceful, that I am good at what I do. Very good, very hard to tell myself that story, I heard you say, when the world is telling us a different story, when the world doesn't confirm that story, okay? And all I have to share with you is this, Sam. Especially when that story is that you have, that you are talented and creative and resourceful and experienced and brilliant, is not confirmed, it's super important for you to tell it, more important than ever. So instead of having that be a reason to give up and stop telling yourself that story because, hey, my boss didn't agree with it and this colleague didn't agree with it last week and the world at large doesn't seem to agree, and I walk into a production office and I don't seem to see myself reflected. Those are all reasons why getting up every morning and doing your affirmations and reminding yourself that you are experienced and creative and resourceful and talented and good at what you do is extra important, because confirmation bias also exists for ourselves. And if you don't confirm what you believe to be true, it's very hard for anyone else to. And this isn't advice that I give to leaders of diverse backgrounds. This is advice I give to every single human being on this planet. If you don't own it and believe it, and it's possible and true, you haven't got a chance of anyone else believing it, because we all pick up on other people's energy. That's how we exist as human beings. You walk in, and I immediately know whether you believe you can do it or you believe you can't. And as I'm always quoting, Henry Ford, who designed the motor car, said it this way: whether you believe you can do it or whether you believe you can't do it, you're right. Whether you, Sam, believe you're good enough or whether you believe you're not, you're right. Because it all starts with you. Doesn't, I mean, of course, what other people think has a huge effect. But if you don't believe you can do it, if you don't believe you're good enough, no one else will. So I'm sorry I couldn't touch on all the points you raised, because they're all interesting and worth talking about. But this session is very much about the distinction between being all in, doing our best, and making it about me. So I'd love to put you into breakout rooms for 10 minutes in a moment, just with two of you. But I kind of want to model what I'm talking about first before I put you into a breakout room. So I'm going to take something really, really simple, like asking you to lunch. So who wants me to ask them to lunch, just so I can do this with somebody? Somebody who hasn't talked before. You don't have to do very much, just sit and listen. Wave your hands if you let me invite you to lunch. Okay. Anyone else? Dean, you just were speaking. Anyone else other than Dean willing to have lunch with me? Don't worry, you don't actually have to have lunch with me. Shelley, great. So I am going to invite Shelley to lunch, but I'm attached. Okay, I'm fully attached. It's all about me. Shelley, would you have, hi. Your answer, by the way, is going to be no. Don't feel you have to say yes, because you would, in normal circumstances, I promise you, say no to this request. So, Shelley, would you have lunch with me next Tuesday at 2:30? I am going to make my world-famous lasagna.
No.
In real life, Shelley probably would say no. I don't know if she's a vegetarian. I don't know whether she lives in Kent. I don't know whether she's free next Tuesday at 2:30, but it was all about my request. Like, will you have lunch with me next Tuesday at 2:30 to eat my world famous lasagna? So it was all packaged up. It was all packaged up because it was all about my attachment. So I'm now going to make the same request, but from a place of commitment. Okay? And you can answer this time however you feel compelled to answer. And we can stay in the conversation. So, Shelley, I would really like to get to know you a little better over a meal sometime. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect. Say when.
Well, I'm open. When works for you? What meals do you like to have?
How's your Thai cooking skills?
Amazing. I actually love Thai cooking. I make a really delicious green Thai curry. I make it mostly with vegetables, but I can make it with chicken. What do you prefer?
Either is perfect for me. Thanks for
And
hosting.
I could bring it to you, or you could come to me. I'm in Kent, not far from Tunbridge Wells, but I also spend Tuesdays in London, so I don't know what would work.
Let's meet in the middle.
Okay, I can do that. Where is the middle for you? So where are you?
I'm in Surrey.
Okay, that's
Right.
definitely the middle. You know what? I can come to Surrey. It's just as easy as going to London, and I like driving.
Perfect.
So,
I can put the kids to bed.
brilliant. So you can see when it starts with a commitment, which is I'd like to get to know you better over a meal. That's like starting by saying, I'd like to create amazing content for the Royal College of Nurses. Or it's like saying, I'd like to create a pathway for you from your background to the world of television. Or it's like saying, I'd like to, in Ellie's case, work with you all to create an extraordinary documentary that we're proud of. The commitment is what's at the center, and that's just joyful. That's just joyful. I'd love to get to know you better over a meal. Why have my world famous lasagna next Tuesday and can't get in the way of that? If what I really want is to get to know you over a meal, find out what meals work for you, where you want to eat them, what you want to eat. I don't care what we eat and where we do it. I'll do it. Keep the commitment in mind. So what I would like you to each do at this moment is think about some area, some project, some person, something where you are feeling attached. You feel it, you know you're attached because when you think about it, you feel it in your stomach, you feel it in your chest, you feel it in your throat, you get hot, you get cold, your hands go clammy, you get sweat under your eyes in Dean's case. You know you're attached. Just find that thing, write that thing down, and then Simone is going to put you into pairs, and I just want you each to have 5 minutes each, so 10 minutes in total, just sharing that thing, that challenge, that project, that person with your colleague in a way that's unattached. So I don't want you to waste the time talking about why you're attached and why you're making it about you and why you feel it in the pit of your stomach. Just go to a place where this isn't about me. This isn't about me. This is about them. This is about the project. This is, how would you share the thing that you're thinking about if you were doing it how I just did my invitation to lunch? So not, I want them to eat my world famous lasagna next Tuesday, but I'm just really committed to getting to know them better over a meal. When you take it back and just look at what's your commitment without the attachment, how would you express that to the other person? And the other person listening, your job is just to listen to see whether they're sharing it in a way which makes you feel joyful and light and inspired, or whether it feels a bit heavy and a bit about them. Is it really about their world famous lasagna next Tuesday at 2:30, or is it about, I'd love to get to know you better over a meal? So take your ideas in pairs, and Simone will put you into breakout rooms, and we will be back in 10 minutes. Great. Who wants to kick off just by sharing an example of somewhere where you were attached and you've let go of that attachment? Anyone? Just wave your hand. I'm practically blind. Don't tell me no one's let go of any attachment.
Shelley had a good one in
Shelley,
our session.
Shelley, great.
Beerbox had a good one.
Shelley, go for it.
We were just chatting through, so hilariously your lasagna came into it. So I'm working on this. I put a message out on our group and everyone's been really helpful. I'm working on this talent program and I did a run of training and events, and Simone and her team do a brilliant job of putting on events for us. And I always look at that as a hallmark, like Shelley gets that level of organizing events because they are phenomenal. The first round I did, I felt like it wasn't great with the trainees that we had for various different reasons. I've got the second run in March. I'm like, it has to be amazing. And I was looking back at the message that I put in the group and I was like, oh my God, that's a lasagna ask. You lasagnaed an ask in the WhatsApp group. So like actually peel it back. Instead of being really specific about what you needed, you'd get more yeses if you just put your hand up and said, is there anyone around in March that would love to come and speak to our trainees who are diverse and from working class backgrounds? Like more people would have said yes
Beautiful.
and come through and
Beautiful.
like,
Beautiful.
so
Such a
dealers
clear,
on your my ask.
such a clear example. And by the way, sometimes when we don't get a response that we think we need or want, when we're attached, we make it mean, oh, no one wants to work with me. Oh, they didn't respond, or they don't like me, or they couldn't care less. Or we immediately create a negative story when we're attached. Whereas if you're just committed but not attached, it's like, send another message, ask a different way, try it a different way. I sent out a message to you guys the other day saying, who wants to jump in a hot seat? Someone sent me a message back saying hot seat sounds a little scary, so I changed it to joy seat. Just change the ask. Just change the ask. Just change the ask until you get a yes. If you're committed, you stop at nothing till you get a yes. If you're attached, you stop at anything because oh, that means I'm shit. Oh, it means I'm not working. Oh, I'm not a good producer. I'm not a talented person. You look, the minute you get a no, it's the end. But when you're committed, if it's not about you, it's just about maybe the ask wasn't right. Like maybe the way I asked wasn't the most effective way. But try it differently. It's not about you, it's about the ask. Beautiful, thank you. Who else has an example of something where they could see they're just attached, they've tried it a different way, got a different result? Come on, this is the first test. Come on.
Remy,
Andrea, go for it.
You've just hit the nail on the head for me. So I'll tell you who it is. I've been dying to meet Dwayne Eaton. Right, I really want to meet him. And he reached out to me and he was like, yeah, let's meet. He's gone quiet. And is that what you've just said? I sent him an email and I'm like, right, he doesn't want to meet me. He doesn't want to, I've sent him a message on LinkedIn. But the reality is he was overseeing a show in the same building as I was working in before Christmas. So I said to my exec, Dwayne's not contacting me. And she said, no, he's just incredibly busy, like really snowed under. Give him a shout in February. So I did that whole, he doesn't want to meet me. And then actually the reality was that he's just really, really snowed under. And, he'd be available probably in Feb when he's less busy. But yeah.
100%. It's a great example. And look, you might get to the point where you've asked him 100 times and he goes, you know what, I just don't have any time. And that's okay. But at least you got to the end of that tunnel and you got to an answer. No result is not a result. Silence is not a result. So when you make it all about yourself and you're like, oh, he probably doesn't want to work with me, he probably doesn't rate me, he probably doesn't think I'm that important or I'm that worth seeing, or you're stopping yourself from going, how about next Tuesday? How about next Wednesday? I can meet you in town. And as long as you're in that conversation, you have a chance to make something happen. But the moment you shut down because you've made it about you, you close off the possibility. Right? So my lunch example is a really simple one, but just stay open. When's good for you? I actually, when I back in the day, I was endlessly inviting the same commissioning editor for lunch, and it took me ages to find out she never had lunch. She didn't eat lunch. When I said, when will be good for you? She's like, oh, we could have a drink. So if you can meet Dwayne whenever and however. And by the way, he'd love to meet. He's really outgoing and open and shares a lot with breakthrough leaders and loves to be helpful and give advice. So do you know what he probably would, if you stopped reaching out, if you stopped asking him, and he had to dissect it, he would probably say, Andrea wasn't that bothered. She wasn't that committed. I thought she really wanted to meet me, but she just fell away. So when you stay committed, it only says something good about you, particularly in our industry. Our industry is, I've said it 100 times, it's 90% commitment and 10% talent, right? So if you can show yourself up to be someone who is 90% or 100% committed, you're showing yourself in a really good light. Somebody who doesn't take no for an answer, somebody who stays in the conversation, somebody who's relentless about setting something up, that's somebody who I want on my team, because chances are they're going to be able to make things happen and get things done. That's who I want. I don't want someone who gives up just because I was busy in January and December and couldn't have lunch with them then. I want someone who's still in touch in February and March and April, because that shows me that you believe in yourself, that you're committed, and that you'll stop at nothing to make something happen. And that's who we all need in TV. That's who we all have to be. And it's a bizarre thing, because you know that you would hire someone over everyone else if they were all in and 100% committed and didn't make it about them. You know that. That's who we want. That's who all of us want. Because we know that they're going to be holding the safety net 100 times out of 100, not 98 out of 100, not 50 out of 100. They're going to be there when we need them 100% of the time. They're not going to be making it about them. They're just going to be doing it because they really want to, they believe in what they're doing, and they're committed to the outcome. That's who we want, people who are committed to making a great show and don't make it all about them. And just as it's who we want, it's also who we have to be. Our time on this topic is almost up, 1 minute left. So I just want to thank you for staying in the conversation. I want to thank all of you for sharing who've shared. Sharing is where the growth is. We can see from other people where we're held back. We can learn from other people's examples. You've been amazing today. Thank you for being so generous with your shares. And I can't wait for our next session, which, because of the calendar, is going to be sooner than it would be otherwise, because it's the first Wednesday of the month. So it's coming up really soon, and I look forward to seeing you then.